The restaurant was buzzing. White linen tables. Glasses clinking. Soft jazz floating in the air. Waiters moved like clockwork, crisp shirts, practiced smiles, all choreographed to please the rich clientele. The front door opened with a soft chime, and a man stepped in. He wore a black hoodie, weathered jeans, and dusty boots. No reservation. No companion. Just a quiet presence. His head was slightly down, his face unshaven, and he carried himself like someone who didn't belong, at least, not in the eyes of the staff. The maitre d' spotted him immediately. A slight frown flickered across his face. He leaned toward the head waiter and whispered something with a smirk. A young server, early 30s, slicked hair, overly confident, approached the man, forcing a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Do you need something?" he asked, glancing the man up and down. "I'd like a table," the man replied, his voice calm, low. The waiter scanned the dining room, which still had several open tables near the windows, polished, clean, bright. But instead, he gestured toward a small table near the kitchen door. It wobbled slightly. The tablecloth was stained, barely covering the scratched wood beneath. There was even a dried ring from a forgotten glass. "This way," the waiter said with a short nod, already walking off. The man didn't complain. He simply followed and sat down. Other guests glanced over. Some sneered. A woman at the next table pulled her handbag closer, whispering something to her date. A few waiters snickered quietly at the bar. Minutes passed. No menu. No water. Just the occasional clatter of plates from the kitchen beside him. At the front, a sharply dressed man, mid-50s, commanding presence, entered the restaurant. The maitre d' straightened instantly. The waiters snapped to attention. Someone rushed to take the man's coat. "Good evening, Mr. Fields," the maitre d' said warmly. The man didn't respond. His eyes were scanning the room, focused, searching. Then he saw him. Still seated by the kitchen. Alone. Still waiting. The man in the hoodie. Mr. Fields walked directly toward him. The maitre d' followed, trying to keep up. The room fell into an uneasy hush. "Sir," Mr. Fields said, stopping at the edge of the table. "I'm so sorry. We weren't expecting you tonight." The waiter, now realizing something was off, froze nearby, tray in hand. The man at the table looked up, no expression on his face. He slowly stood up. "Didn't need to be expected," he said. "I wanted to see the place, through your staff's eyes." The maitre d's face turned pale. I didn't know," he stammered. Mr. Fields turned to the staff, especially the young waiter who had led the man to the dirty table. "You all remember our conversation last week," he said. "About the new silent partner. The new majority stakeholder." He stepped aside, motioning toward the man in the hoodie. "This is him." Gasps. One of the bartenders dropped a glass. Someone whispered Jason Statham under their breath, the name now finally clicking in as the face registered. The young waiter opened his mouth, searching for words, but none came. Jason looked around the room. Calm. Composed. Not angry, just disappointed. He stepped toward the center of the restaurant and gently pulled off his hoodie, revealing a crisp button-up underneath. Still casual, but now unmistakably in control. "I've worked kitchens. Cleaned dishes. Served tables. I've seen what respect looks like, and what it doesn't," he said. Jason nodded toward Mr. Fields. "We'll talk upstairs. I want to discuss staffing changes." And with that, he walked past the waiter without another glance. The maitre d' followed. The waiter stood frozen, his face flushed with shame, still holding the untouched tray of water that had never made it to Jason's table. Behind him, the dirty table still sat by the kitchen door, suddenly the brightest, most noticeable thing in the whole room. Fade out. The restaurant didn't feel the same after that night. The young waiter was quietly let go by the end of the week. No drama. No big confrontation. Just a short conversation and a final paycheck handed over without a word. He left with his head down, not because he lost his job, but because he knew he'd failed the test of simple human decency. The remaining staff moved differently after that. More carefully. More respectfully. Not out of fear, but out of something deeper. They had seen what humility looked like, and what power really was. Jason never boasted about owning the place. He never put his name on the menu, or in gold letters by the door. But he returned often, dressed the same, quiet as ever. Not to be seen. Just to watch, to listen, and sometimes, to help the staff during busy hours. Some customers still didn't recognize him. But the ones who did, treated everyone a little better. Because in that restaurant, you never really knew who was watching. And Jason liked it that way.